Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's had a good week this week. I have to say, my week has been interesting. Not anything to do with school. School's doing well. I'm getting my work done, my assignments done, attending classes. I had a bit of a personal struggle this week that I'm going to tell you about, but I first wanted to talk to you about your relationship with God. And I hope everyone can ask themselves what your relationship is uh, and what it's like with God. Because before I started school, I can actually say that I didn't have as a good a relationship as I do now. And I was missing out before. I can truly say that. I was like, why wasn't I doing this before? Because my mentors used to tell me all the time, get into his word, pray every night, meditate, soak in his presence, fast, all these things, all these disciplines. And I always just was like, yeah, yeah. And I never really did them to the fullest as I could. I tried to get into his word, but I was doing it maybe like once or twice a week, which is really bad to admit, but I prayed every night, but maybe some nights it was only for 5 minutes. And I always just used to be tired, say I'm tired and make those excuses when I could have made the time for him. So I just wanted to give you that today because it kind of ties in with my struggle and just shows that, you know what, if you build that relationship with him, spend that time with him in his presence and seek after him, he will show up. He will show up for you in more ways than you can realize. This week, for example, I was sleeping and I jumped out of my sleep in the middle of the night. I think it was like 3 in the morning, and he gave me a scripture. And I wrote it down in my journal. And the whole week, I've been praying over this scripture. It's just amazing how he shows up. So it, that kind of ties in with my struggle this week. And we talked about it in our spiritual integration class this week with Rich. We talked about our thoughts and our mind and how powerful it is. And it hit home with me because I struggle. It's one of my biggest struggles is my thoughts and getting into my head and just thinking things that probably don't mean anything and aren't that big of a deal to someone else. So I wanted to share with you what happened. I actually had a lady was talking to me about marriage, and I don't think she realized that I am divorced. And she was telling me how she was talking to her niece about how scripture says, scripture says you're not supposed to get a divorce. And if you do get a divorce, then you can never remarry. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my gosh, I've been waiting 5 years for the right person to come along so I can remarry. And she's basically saying, no, scripture says you can't. So anyways, I let this bother me the whole weekend. And I didn't even want to go to scripture. I didn't want to look it up in the Bible just because I honestly didn't want to find out something that I was going to be upset. I was already upset with God and having a conversation with him like, really? Really? So anyways, the week went on. Tuesday came, and every Tuesday at school we have chapel. And I had a conversation with a friend before chapel, and it was a great conversation, great fellowship. And I just told her about it and told her that it was bothering me. And she's like, you know what? Maybe you should look into it. Look into scripture, see what it says. And that day in chapel, after chapel, the worship went a bit longer than it usually does. The team played music, sang a little bit longer, and I decided to stay and pray. And I just walked up and down, and then God gave me a scripture, Mark 10, clear as day. And I sat on the gym floor and I opened my Bible to Mark 10. And would you believe Mark 10? And I never knew this before because I had never looked into it yet. The title of Mark 10 is divorce. And this just shows you that God, if you take that time to spend with him, he'll be there for you and he'll show up. the scripture didn't necessarily give me the answers I needed. But it made me realize that, you know what, I do need to look into this. I do need to, for myself, what puts the scripture into context that he gave me, and just research it. And in talking with some of my other friends, my classmates and other students, about it, it made me feel better. It made me realize that, God is a sovereign God, and that I trust him. So no matter what happens, whatever, because I did get a book from the library about it, and I am going to continue to just do some research on it. But whatever I find out, it's okay, because I trust him and I have full faith in him. And whatever God has in store for me and whatever he has planned for me, will happen, whether or not it's meant for me to just do his works by myself, or do it with somebody and share the rest of my life with someone. But that's really truly up to him. So in saying that, I just want to encourage everyone this week to get closer to him. Spend that time with God in his word, studying it, interpreting it, because I'm learning that in school right now, and it's amazing. Praying, soaking in his presence, meditating, fasting, all those things, it's worth it. Honestly, it truly is worth it all. It's an amazing feeling to be this close to him, and I love it. And I'm going to continue to do it myself, continue to stay in his presence, and become closer with him. So I encourage you all to do that this week. And I just want to thank everyone for joining me. And if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel and walk with me on this journey. And I thank you guys again, and I'll see you next week. Bye.